Hi, Maura Hibbets from Two Crafting Sisters here, and I was asked to show how I've been making my homemade stamps. I learned how to do this at a Color Crush workshop that I went to from Natalie Callback and Birgit Koopsen. So all you basically need is some fun foam, which is maybe about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick, a skewer like for barbecuing, a wood block, some ink, and some paper. Also scissors if you want to cut out a design, as well as you can also use a die cut. So I wanted to show you a couple of examples with the die cut that I did with the fleur-de-lis here. So it's very easy to die cut it on your machine and get the shape to work with. So we'll start off with the first one that I have, and basically you're looking for the self-adhesive foam so that it will attach itself to the block. All right, and we'll get that attached. And one of the things you just kind of want to take a look at is to cut something that will fit the size of your block, and there are different size blocks that you can use. All right, so I can leave it just like that, or I can take the same image just to show you how both of these work. Take the same image and add a little bit of a design to it. So we'll take the fleur-de-lis. All right, and this is where you're going to use your skewer and just add in a little bit of detail to the design that you have. So basically you're pressing into the foam and creating the lines or designs that you want to add to your foam stamp. So maybe I'll add some circles by pressing in. And maybe a couple of lines. All right, and perhaps a couple more lines here just to add a little bit more detail. And then we can see what this looks like. All right, so we have a lot of detail added to it. So now we're going to stamp both and see what they look like. So we'll go back to the first one. And you can use ink or you can also stamp with paint, and I'll show you both of those techniques. All right, so we're going to do our first image, which is just the plain one. All right, and there we have that. And I usually just use a baby wipe or paper towel to get the excess ink off. I often end up wearing quite a bit of it on my hands by the end. All right, and then we'll ink up the side that we sketched the design into so that you can see the comparison with that. Okay, so the same shape, two different ways that we approached it so that you can see the difference that adding in some design, and it doesn't look like a whole lot when you look at what you sketched in, but when you stamp with it, it adds in quite a bit of detail. Okay, next I want to show you using acrylic paint. So right now I'm just using some Amsterdam paint. Any type of acrylic paint will work. And I've put it into a pan and spread it out with the brayer. And you don't want to have too much paint on so that you'll get the detail from your stamps. So you can always take a little bit of the paint off first and then go to your stamp. All right, and we'll use the same designs that we used before. Brayer the ink onto it and stamp the design. And there we go. And let's try it with the one that has a bit more detail. And we'll add just a little bit more paint. All right, so let's try it with a little bit more detail and see how that one turns out. And there we go. So depending on how much paint you use, how much detail, you just don't want to use too much to fill in the lines that you have. So one of the things you want to do when you're using acrylic paint is to make sure that you clean it off. So I basically usually just will use a baby wipe to clean it off. You can also take like a toothbrush, a little bit of water, but then make sure you let them dry. So let's say next we want to just cut out our own design. So what I like to do is to trace around the block to get the size of it, and then cut that out. And then we just want to cut whatever kind of design that you would like to make, and we'll put that down on a different side. So let's say I'll just cut out some different circles, and we'll place those onto the block. A few different sizes. I never really worry too much about getting things perfect. I think that's half the fun of making your own stamps, is the imperfections that they have. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll play with that. So once again, you're just going to remove the backing from it and place them. Okay, so we have those placed. And now let's etch a little bit of a design into it. So let's go around, make circles with the little ones, and just press in, make your dots. So you can see I'm putting a fair amount of pressure on those to get the dots to go into the foam. All right, and maybe we'll do some circles with the big one. I find it easier to hold the skewer and move the block when doing circular patterns. And let's see if we can do one more in there. All right, and maybe we'll make circles with this one too. Let's see how this turns out. Whoops. All right, let's just change that design a little bit and maybe make it look a little bit more like an eye. All right, let's see how this turns out when we stamp it then. So we'll ink it up. And let's see what it looks like. There, that's kind of fun. So we could use this to create a background by doing some repeated stamping and switching the angle that we're placing it down at. So you can get a fun repeating pattern. And let's do one more. Let's put that, there we go. Right, so we can get a fun repeating pattern and get a fun background to work with. I was also asked to share the different stamps that I've made and the designs that they came up with. So to start off, first of all, we'll take a look at this one, which is basically squares, and that is the stamped image to that. And then we have an organic shape, and that would be the stamp that I made to create that shape. And then we have little boxes. So right here we have the design on this of the stamp, and there's the stamped image for that. And then we have a swirl, and there's the image for the swirl stamp. Little person, happy little person. All right, stamped image, and there's the stamp for that. And then we have another organic shape, stamped image, and there's the stamp for that one. All right, so that's my large cube. The next cube, we have a heart, and that's the stamp to create the heart image. And I have a New Mexico sun, and there's the stamp, which creates the image. Triangles. So this would be one that's easy to turn around in different directions for that. I have another little person. Let's find that little person. All right, so there's this, there we go with that one. A flower. Okay. And then I have a chevron that I made. All right, so this one, what I did with that was to stamp it in one direction with the stamp, turn it around, and stamp it in the opposite way to get kind of a reflection of that one. And then the last set that I have, my small one, there's the stamped image with the stamp that's carved. And this is a good one, again, like to turn it in different directions so that you can get a repeating pattern or a border. And then I did a couple of leaves. So there's a trio of leaves with its stamp, and there's the large leaf with the stamp. And once again, sometimes I put them at an angle so that it will fit the space that's there. A smaller organic shape right here that you can see, this one I call like a citrus. All right, so there's the image with that. And then this one calling the racetrack, or it's kind of an egg shaped. And there we go with that. Okay, so once again, just to remind you, all the simple things that you need in order to make your own stamps is a wooden block, some fun foam, a skewer, some ink, scissors for cutting your fun foam, your adhesive fun foam out. And if you want to work with acrylic paint, paint and a brayer are good to have, so that you can, and also like an old catalog that you can get the excess paint off with to do that. So just a quick reminder back to the beginning is that we had created our fleur-de-lis solid and then a pattern one and stamped it in ink and then stamped it with the acrylic ink. So I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial on how to make your own stamps. And if you make your own, I'd love it if you'd share it with me at twocraftingsisters.blogspot.com. Thanks so much for watching.